So now today, Friday, this is August 2nd, they get in there and they get to discuss an actual admissibility of evidence, mainly the interrogation videos. And the reason they have to go back into this is because they're about to redo all of this testimony by Copeland. So now we need to re-argue, especially because now the defense feels like, well, nothing that Glanville ruled on should be considered fair because we found out that he wasn't being a fair judge. But anyway, now they have to re-go over the evidence. And the judge is pretty much letting them know, hey, in this courtroom, we're not about to watch 2 hours of video to figure out what's admissible and what's not. Y'all figure that out. I know that Steele doesn't talk to Love or Hilton. I know these people, everybody's beefing. Y'all don't talk to each other. I don't care about that. Somebody on these teams need to figure out how to communicate with the other so that y'all can figure out which of these pieces of this video y'all agree on, and we don't have to talk about it in court. And then the stuff that y'all disagree on, bring that and we'll discuss that. But y'all need to do that before we get in court. I'm not doing that. We're not listening to hours and hours of video and jail calls. So she sent them off to do that, and that's what they went and did. So then they come back, and that's when they have the argument I was just telling y'all about with Shard talking about the prior inconsistent statements, right? And the judge agreed and said, take some of that stuff out. Also, co-conspirator statements. The judge pretty much was like, so Hilton got up and pretty much argued, hey, because the Lil Wayne bus shooting happened and because it made the news, any conversations that were had behind the scenes about that bus shooting was somehow furthering the gang and the notoriety of the gang YSL, right? And the judge said, well, did they take credit for it publicly? And Hilton is like, no. She's like, did they ever brag about it publicly? She's like, no, they didn't. Then judge is like, well, then that's not furthering the gang because they didn't promote it at all. They didn't promote that they did that. So you can't consider that to be somehow like bolstering the reputation of the gang when the gang didn't even want to take credit for it. So she's like, take out that statement where Copeland is talking about somebody told him about the Young Thug shooting. Now, did y'all hear them arguing about something that when they were arguing about the rapper The Game, and Shannon Stillwell told Copeland something about the beef with The Game, right? And remember they was arguing, this is for the people who actually watch, but there was an argument where the state is saying that Copeland was telling interrogators, or the interviewers, the police, that Shannon told me out of his own mouth. Pretty much. That's what Hilton was saying that Kenneth Copeland said. But what Shard heard was something different. I'm gonna tell y'all what I heard. And I don't have the clip right now. I'm gonna tell y'all what I heard. And I'm pretty sure this is what he said. Copeland pretty much said that that Shannon talking about they sitting there waiting. Pretty much saying, and then the police right after that said, just waiting on the word, right? Because that's what he said. Shannon, they talking about they sitting up there waiting to do it. Pretty much like they was going to do something to the game and they was pretty much had eyes on them, but they needed the call from what Copeland was trying to say is they need the call from Young Thug. If Young Thug make the call, then we right here in position to make it happen. So they was laying on them pretty much. That's what Copeland said in that statement right there. Shannon talking about they sitting there waiting. So none of them could figure out what it means, and they eventually said, "Why are we even arguing about this? It's irrelevant anyway. Like, get rid of it." So it's out of there. It's pointless too because they argued about that with Glanville too, and it didn't matter then. It don't matter now because it's just pointless social media fodder, really. So now we get into later on in the evening. The judge is like pretty much done for the day. The judge is like, hey, I want to test out my headset. Like, anybody want to help me test it out? Like, y'all know what to do? What's this red thing here? They get to that point, and of course, my man Brian Steele stands up and says, hey, judge, I got one more thing. And this is what Steele gets into. Or I think Shard might have said something first, like, hey, I filed a motion too. You're about to see it. I just filed it like 2 minutes ago. And so he said that, and we'll read the motion too. Still gets up and says, "Hey, I got Melnick, attorney Melnick wants to come in on Monday and testify about the facts of what Love and Hilton are saying is false, patently false, egregiously false, extremely false. They're lying. Melnick wants to come and talk." So the judge is like, "Well, why would he talk? Because all of this stuff is in transcripts and all this. Like, why? What does he need to talk about?" And the judge is like, Steele's like, "Oh, this is a 2-hour conversation. I can't say what he's going to say, but he wants to come say it in front of the court. He wants to come testify." So the demeanor of the state when they hear this is like they kind of look shook a little bit to me. They're looking at each other. They look scared. I'm not going. So Steele is like, "Yeah, we need to let him come." And the judge is like, pretty much the judge asked him like, "For what?" Steele explains it. The judge is like, "Oh, I didn't know that, but I'm not guaranteeing that he'll be able to testify. He could come up there and I'll decide if I want to let him or not." So the judge didn't say for sure that he was going to be able to testify, but she said that she'll think about it and just come to court and we'll figure out what was going on. Right? So that's a bomb right there. That's really a bomb because court was pretty much over before that. And Brian Steele just came out with that. And it's going to be interesting to see what in the world Melnick is about to say up there. Oh, I think it's mostly around. Now, I do know now. It's mostly around because Brian Steele is now essentially saying what y'all been telling me, or what some of y'all been telling me, is that transcript from the ex parte meeting on June 10th does not have all of the conversation, all the non-privileged information in it. They're saying it's not in there. Brian Steele is saying that he has some type of good faith basis to believe that Kenneth Copeland said more things about that Donovan Thomas murder, and it's not in the transcript. I watched a live stream earlier on that dude Nick's page. It was Nick, Kat, not Williams. It was Caleb Bumpus. It was Seti Nash. It was Rachel Kaufman, right? Miss Sylvia came later, but it was at this time when it was talking about this. It was so Caleb Bumpus kind of hinted at, first of all, Woody and Bumpus already kind of said that wasn't everything. Like they didn't tell us what was missing, but they said that wasn't everything, right? Now, when they were doing a breakdown of the reaction video to that last piece of court today, Seti Nash says something kind of like, "I don't think that Woody would get up there and just like admit to a murder in front of the state and the judge. That wouldn't make sense." And then Bumpus was saying, she was pretty much like, "I'm not saying what happened, but I'm just saying that what if he said something about a different crime and it wasn't about the murder, but what if he admitted to a different crime? What if it was something else and it wasn't the murder, but it was something else that just wasn't in the transcript," right? So Bumpus didn't say exactly what she was getting into, but she was hinting at he didn't say nothing about the murder, but he said something about something else, right? Which it really doesn't matter what was said. If there's anything that was said in front of more than just his attorney and it wasn't on that transcript, the Whitaker's gonna have to throw the thing out. The problem now is, and I heard Bumpus also say she was nervous and she was scared when this was going on. The problem now is, if Melnick is no longer the attorney and Bumpus told, no. The problem is going to be how Melnick is going to have to tell the court how he knows whatever he's saying he knows. That's the problem. If it's not on the transcript, but you somehow know it, now you're going to have to say how you know it. And he's willing to go testify under oath. So the judge is 1,000% going. The judge is probably not going to hold him in contempt if he doesn't. But the judge is definitely going to say, where could you have possibly gotten that information from? So we are back into a wild situation. This is about to put the case on hold again, and it's about to get real shaky, I think. Let me go ahead, because I haven't had the chat up here. Let me read the chat before I get into what Max Shard said. Oh yeah, y'all been going in. Let me see. Oh, y'all been going crazy. Oh, I seen something. I seen somebody say something about Brady Brady violation. Now, this is the crazy part about this Brady violation stuff, right? Excuse me. Judge Whitaker is making it seem like because you now have the evidence that the infraction did not take place. The problem is not whether or not we have the evidence or not. The problem is there was a Brady violation and there was no punishment for that violation. That's the problem. So when the defense keeps on having their rights violated with this evidence, the state is not being punished for it. Everybody's just moving forward and saying, okay, just turn it over now and then all should be good. Again, this is how Alec Baldwin beat his case. Because when we were watching that trial, the defense had the information. The problem is the state didn't turn it over when they first got it. That was the issue. The state was supposed to turn it over immediately when it was time, before it was time to go to trial, and they didn't. So it didn't matter the fact that they had it now. The violation is at the point when they don't turn it over. So it's very interesting, that whole Brady thing. Now, let me go back and read. Sorry, y'all, it's a lot of comments, so I'm going to be reading for a little minute. Monday might be, judge is trying to get the prosecutor's mess sorted out. I don't think there's any way to sort this out. Hippie Easter, you was way ahead. Monday might be interesting. Monday is going to be extremely interesting. Reign Supreme, what's going on? Nikki said she wants to be the Supreme Court, and this trial will get her a nod, in my opinion. Oh, she wants to be on the Supreme Court. Okay. Yep. Tyrese said the only reason the judge didn't agree for a mistrial is because the defendants are not unanimously agreed for a mistrial. Additionally, because she can't give mistrial with prejudice. Okay. Rain said it's tedious but effective. Rain said, I think it's like you said, the judge has no knowledge of the totality. She learned when the state stalled on Woody and couldn't proceed. Yep. Tyrese said, I think just wants the prosecutor to fall flat before dismissing the case. And be clear, whether they get a mistrial or not, y'all let me know what y'all think. I don't think there's any possibility that a jury convicts these people. They're going to have to retry this case anyway. The trial that we are watching right now, there's a 0% chance that this jury convicts these people. 0. So it doesn't matter what happens. I mean, it matters because they're wasting time, but there's no conviction coming no matter what happens on this trial. And I don't think that Fulton County is going to get another $5-10 million to spend on this case. Let me keep going. Nikki said Whitaker wants this done in 30 weeks. Yep, heard that. Hippies to go USA. Rain said the 30 witnesses was hilarious at day 104. Facts. Tyrese, what is funny for me is that the state can't give any case law in their argument. They're struggling, man. Rain said, starting Monday, Love has to turn in those names. Yep. Blue skies. This not being prepared is violating the defendant's due process to a speedy trial. Yep. Zandara said, I think she's looking for something other than the meeting to get a mistrial. Probably is looking for, she's probably looking for a better argument from the defense, because the defense is like bombarding with the motions, but she might be looking for that magic motion. Because we talked about this before with the, when Ashley Merchant was going after Fonnie Willis and Nathan Wade. The issue wasn't that Fonnie Willis didn't do anything wrong. The issue was Ashley Merchant didn't properly structure, or she didn't use the right argument. She tried to use conflict of interest, and it wasn't a conflict. So that's in the same situation. You got to make the right argument to get your motion through. And it seems like this judge is just waiting for the right one. And I think she'll give them what they're looking for. I think it's because Glanville's a chief judge, so this is the save face. Judges stick together just like the police. Ray said, what about ex parte number 2? That was wild. K-Way say, what up, people? What's going on? Rain, what is the excuse now? How is this not grounds for a dismissal? But the ex parte had Brady, which negates the knowledge of said meeting. So they haven't even gotten into the contents of the June 7th meeting, but they are going to. The judge just hasn't made the ruling yet. Give me a second, y'all, real quick. Oh, never mind. Let's see here. K-Way said, if you go back, you can hear it, but they still themselves has to expose to the defense and invite them. Child Please said, if you watch the video, no one heard her. We barely heard her request the meeting on video, and the camera people sit right beside her. Yeah, exactly. The court reporter caught it, but the defense wasn't notified. K-Way, did y'all notice how at the end of the trial today, the judge put Love and Hilton back on notice of being kicked off the case without really saying it? All right, K-Way, you got to go back and listen because I just played it. She didn't say that. She said whatever I rule based on whatever Melnick says. She said I'm not going to remove y'all from the case based on that. It sounds to me like she's saying based on what Melnick says, it's not going to get y'all removed from this case. We looking at mistrial talk. So you ain't got to worry about the being removed. If anything happens when we find out that y'all violated something, we throwing this whole case away. That's how I took what she said. So, but go back and check that and let me know. Reign Supreme says saying I want a meeting is not the same as asking for ex parte. No, supposedly she asked for ex parte, like by name. That's what the judge said. Hilton had a little swag today after looking distraught for days. That's funny. K, with the judge denied still motion to excuse the state, but today she says she's going to take up the motion separately if she decides to. Child, please say yes. She said that was weird too because she told Still to submit it. Hip Easter Shard is the one trying to work with Hilton. I don't think anyone wants to talk to Love. Love, yeah, nobody's dealing with Love at all. Shard seems to be the bridge between the defense and the state. He seems to be the one working with them the most. And Mr. Kokomo, maybe. K-Way, the state have been stuck without Glanville because he's the one who's been finding all the case law for them and arguing for them. And Glanville has been coaching them crazy. And not even coaching them. Just when they've been flat out wrong, he's just been letting them be wrong. So it's just like, I don't understand. Reign Supreme, she's a fair judge, or at least she gives the appearance of being fair. Yep. K-Way said, I don't trust a new judge like that, but she does make the state do the work instead of running the case. And this is the thing about the new judge, right? It's not about being fair to one side or being mean to one side or not to the other, right? The whole thing is be impartial. Just like the judge denied the defense's motions for bond and all that, and denied some of the mistrial motions because they weren't sufficient legally. She didn't feel like they were legally sufficient. She's also telling the state, hey, don't do that again. Hey, turn this over by then. Hey, I'm not letting you get that evidence in. Hey, she's being what we can consider as fair as you can possibly be in a situation like this. Let's see here. Reign Supreme, yes, that was crazy. The state was really trying to game plan today because Glanville was allowing all the evidence. Glanville was allowing everything. No one wants to talk to Love at all. Rain right. K-Way says, still was to quit today. I know he had something up his... Oh, too quick, I'm guessing you meant. Blue Sky said, Melnick doesn't like Love. Yeah, Melnick ain't messing with the state at all. Child Please said, Love was mighty quiet. I wonder what she has up her sleeve. I seen also in that live I was telling y'all about on Nick's page, when he had all of them up there, the panel, Miss Sylvia eventually joined in with them, right? And Miss Sylvia said that Miss Love, Attorney Love, was nervous all day in court today. Sylvia said she was standing up, pacing, walking around the court, just like not sitting in her seat steadily throughout the day. She was like eating. She was in the back, just sitting in the back and sitting in the back room type thing. So they said Love was real nervous in court today. Blue Sky said Melnick is going to cuss Love out. Melnick cussed Love out and he's going to be held in contempt. I don't think Whitaker is going for none of the non-professionalism. So he better be careful. Let me see. Let's see. Reign Supreme said this is a high-profile case, and if the judge isn't meticulous, exactly the entire ex parte was read out on a couple lives. Black Butterfly say, hey, Reagan chat, what's going on, Black Butterfly? Reign said, how does YouTube have the transcripts live, but the defense doesn't? I have no clue. Well, it's not that the transcript, I don't know what people are reading, but in Max Shard's motion, he has a whole section in there talking about what's being said in the June 7th meeting. Let me see. Reign said, Bumpus is helping and thank God for her. Zendar said, do you feel Love is scared? I think she's scared because whatever Melnick is coming in there to say is about to get ugly. If you go watch the interview Woody did with the Danza Project, he said he's not going to let Thug go to jail for something he did because Thug was good to all of them. I saw that. I watched that. That was a great interview too, by the way. I watched that interview, and it was a good one. I did hear him say that. And he actually has been hitting at that for a while. Remember there was an Instagram post that Woody put up there on like, He might have put it up like right before they held him in contempt and put him in jail, or right after they let him out. He said something about something been weighing on his heart heavy. He been talking to God, and he's not gonna let some innocent man go to prison. He said that already. So I'm guessing this is why he's willing to like do what he's doing right now. Reign Supreme said the judge said she didn't want to hear from Melnick as of yet. Right. So she didn't guarantee that he would let that she was gonna let him testify. Child, please, I say that. Esquire said, I interned for a judge in D.C. who automatically dismissed cases where there was a Brady violation. Normally, that's kind of what you cannot play with evidence. If you are the state playing with evidence, this is how a lot of people beat cases. If you are playing around with the evidence, if the evidence does not match up, if the evidence is not being properly turned over in discovery, and remember, we talked about this a while ago. Discovery has to be turned over no later than or no sooner than 10 days before trial starts. So if there is things, I guess besides things that pop up during the trial. So essentially, if anything pops up during the trial, you have to give it over immediately, right? The defense does not have to like put a motion in to get that information. The defense doesn't have to badger you to find out that information. As soon as you find out as the state that there's more evidence, you have to turn it over immediately. And that's an issue. Reign Supreme, but they told Woody they could hold him indefinitely, which was the issue on the top of the Brady violation. And the crazy part about it is the new Judge Whitaker, along with the defense, said that's illegal and they can't hold him indefinitely. So why were they saying that? They was telling them they pretty much can just hold him forever. That's what they made it seem like. And Whitaker said, yeah, they can't do that. They can't hold him indefinitely for civil contempt. And that's crazy because that was the argument Glanville was using the entire time with the state, is that we can hold you indefinitely. That's crazy. That's how you coerce. That's how you tamper with a witness. Scare him into testifying. Excuse me. Nessie said there's no adequate remedy. Hippie Easter. Can't wait till Monday. Me either. K-Way, I think the judge has a sense that if she called this a mistrial with prejudice, that the investigation might happen. Yo, hip hop media, drop a like. Yes, please. Reign Supreme, I agree they can't convict. Nope, it's over after this. Anonymous Jeff, there will be no retrial. I don't think the county has enough money to retry this. Honestly. Especially with this Trump thing. They doing YSL and Trump at the same time. That's the worst mistake they could have ever made. Jury said no, the jury is lost. Yeah, the jury is done. They would never convict these people right now. The argument needs to be crisp, correct on then that from Ashley 1. And I don't care for her. I think Ashley had a good argument, but she didn't structure it properly. K-Way, the judge told the state that Monday they have to have the next 30 witnesses ready and the next 30, not just have the next 30 ready. They need to have the evidence for each witness. So that's going to be tough. Esquire said, Bruce Harvey has the best argument for a mistrial. He says there's no way a judge can learn everything in the middle of a trial like this. It's an automatic unfair trial. Yeah, I thought so too, but the judge took that as a challenge. Anonymous Jeff said, fundamental fairness and due process of law has been lost in the biased, unethical, and prejudicial proceedings of this trial. Facts. Reign Supreme, I saw her coming back and saying it's over because Love will try her usual stalling tactics. Tyrese, I'm not, but I think the judge told Ms. Love that she might remove her from this case after the argument on Monday. Oh, she says she might. If Love doesn't have those names, the case is over. Yeah, no, Love better for sure have that list of witnesses. Oh, what if the judge is like, hey, if y'all don't have y'all list of witnesses, and the way I said to have them, I'm making it so none of those witnesses can't testify now. That'd be crazy. Anonymous, let me see what we got here. K-Way said, read my next comment. She said she would handle it separately. Okay. Esquire, for some reason, it seemed like the new judge is trying to protect Granville from being embarrassed by Steele. He's already been embarrassed. Black Butterfly, this judge is fair. Nessie, also the judge said, is there any other meeting you states haven't mentioned? There better not be. Let's talk about that real quick. The Whitaker said there better not be another ex parte meeting that happened, right? And then Doug Weinstein said, well, listen, Judge, there had to be another meeting because we left court on Thursday evening and the state said that Copeland was coming the next day. Copeland told them he wasn't going to testify. Then they put some type of motion in, and then the next morning, early before court, which would have been June 7th, they had a signed motion somehow without any argument outside of court, right? So, and then the judge said, hey, state, did y'all meet with the judge to talk about that immunity order? The state kind of got up nervously as if they were about to lie. And it's funny because Love didn't let Hilton answer that question. If y'all remember, Hilton is the one that handled everything related to Copeland, right? Hilton is the one that got contacted by Melnick and said he's not testifying. Hilton is the one who did her research, found out about the statute that says immunity and he could be forced to testify. Hilton is the one that drafted up the documents. Hilton is the one that filed the motion to the court. And Hilton is the one that received that approval by Glanville. So why is Hilton not the one to say whether or not there was a meeting between the state and Glanville? And why is Love the one to get up and nervously answer that question? Sounding like she was lying, and actually not sounding like she was lying, sounding like she was about to admit to something, and the judge cut her off. Did y'all notice that? She said, when the judge said, hey, did y'all have some type of meeting? Was there any type of meeting that y'all had about that immunity thing? Love stood up slowly, about to answer a question that she shouldn't be answering, Hilton should be answering. She said, no, but, and the judge took that no and said, okay, so we're good. There was no meeting. Love was about to say something. Y'all go back and look and tell me. Love was for sure about to say something.